It's something I'm passionate about. This story anyway, this idea.
Welcome to our first story questions writing session. John Keating, thank you for being generous enough to write with us today.
You're welcome. Happy to help.
To those of you watching and wondering, my name is David. Karen and I have switched places today. She's running the camera, she's doing the sound. I've moved over to the pilot seat, but you may hear her in the background. You may hear the sweet voice at some point. Another thing for those of you watching, we also want to say this isn't a writing session only for John. You're going to be able to participate as well. So get your notepads ready, get your cell phones ready, get your laptops ready. All right, and first we're going to learn a little bit more about you, John. Our first question, do you consider yourself a writer?
No, I do not. I can write, but it's like directing. I can direct, but I don't like doing it.
But you say that, but the thing is you have done some writing in your life. It's not like you've never written before.
Correct. Yes,
so,
I have.
What kind of things have you written?
Well, I wrote for a web series that I did with my accountability partner. I wrote, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe half a dozen episodes of that. It's just a little 2 to 3 minute comedy web series. And then, that's all that comes to mind, other than, occasionally I would journal in the past. I don't really do that anymore. But, I do when I help out at my acting studio, I will help compose letters or press releases or things like that from time to time, but it's very rare that happens.
And thinking about it now, when was the last time that you sort of like sat down to actually write a story?
I don't know. It's been long.
It's been many, many years.
Right.
But now the thing is I'll say now, there was a story that you wrote, like you at least worked on, over 10 years ago or something like that?
Yeah. I started writing it probably in 2009 or 2010.
Okay.
But I came up with the idea, and then I did a sort of an outline in my head, and then I just wrote some scenes that I thought would be fun to do in the movie.
That's right. And those are the scenes that you emailed us. And so
yes.
In a little bit, though, we're going to be working on some of those scenes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So it has been a long time, and when you do write, what comes easy to you in terms of writing?
Gosh, boy, that's hard to really peg down, because I know for the scenes that I've written for the movie idea I had, people in my family just told me about their experiences, and so I just sort of reimagined them in my own mind. So that part came easy. The difficult part is fitting them into a story, actually coming up with a story. So I find that I don't write enough really to have ever gotten writer's block. I don't think I've ever gotten writer's block, simply because when I write, it's very sporadic and doesn't happen very often.
And then you simply just write.
Whatever comes into my head,
Just on the other side, just while you're thinking of it, just when you have written, and I realize it's not a lot, but when you have written, what are sort of like the roadblocks or the challenges that you face?
I would say probably putting them into a coherent story, but I usually have the most success with my writing when I feel as though it strikes a chord in me, when I'm saying to myself, either A, this is really good, or I start laughing at something I write, or and I usually am not going to write if I'm not inspired to write. Since I'm not a writer and my living doesn't depend on it, I write at my own leisure. So I just write when the mood strikes me.
And I mentioned that you've already emailed us 10 pages, sort of like scenes and ideas for like a movie that you had in mind previously. Altogether, what you sent us was 1,434 words. Now that's going to come into play in a little bit, but you sent us 1,434 words. Now, how long did it take you to write those words, those pages?
I did those over the course of several years, just writing, coming up with ideas, jotting down the ideas first on a notepad, and then once the idea was down on the notepad, once I came up with half a dozen ideas or something on a notepad, I start fleshing them out. So it was quite a period of time with gaps in between the writing. So I would get the idea, I'd write it on the notepad, I'd collect 7 or 8 ideas, and then over the course of several months, I would write the scenes out when I had time.
Interesting. I mean, so you weren't putting in all this effort into it. It was just kind of like as it happened. But still, when you step back and look at it, it took you years to write the 10 pages, the 1,434 words.
Yes.
So, because some people that are watching this, I mean, that might be just a few hours worth of time for them. Like, that's just like a little part of a day. For you, it took you years to write all this.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so here's the deal, John. Today, for this writing session, if you write more than 1,434 words in this session, we're going to track it later, so don't worry about this now, but we're going to track it. But if you write that much today in this writing session, we'll give you a free copy of our new book. That's what we'll do.
Okay.
We'll give you the Story Questions book, so you'll win that. So that'll be the reward for today. But again, don't want you to worry about that. Well, we're just going to basically just focus in and sort of create the best work that we can.
Okay.
Yeah, I do want to, as we get started, there is one disclaimer that I just want to get out there. John already mentioned acting studio and acting. You know, John is an actor. In my previous life, I was a writer-director, kind of like as I began Film Courage. And many, many moons ago, John and I, we worked on a movie together, myself as the writer-director, John as the actor. Having said that, John's also a friend. Karen and I, we wrote this new book. We had this idea to sort of try something different with Film Courage. We wanted to do this writing session. In that vein, John's the first person we thought of to bring in. So, thank you for being here, John. We definitely appreciate it. And so he was willing to sort of come in and do this with us. We're learning on the fly. And also, there's also the fact that you have this previous movie idea that you have worked on in the past.
Right.
And we just want to try some of these questions out at you and try this writing session. So, yeah. And so I'll turn it back to you one more time. Do you have like any sort of goal yourself for this, like a personal goal for this writing session?
I didn't come in with a preconceived.
Can you think of one now? What's your goal coming into it?
Let's see. Maybe to have more clarity on the structure of how these fit together,
Okay. All right. I'll take that. I mean, I did see some things when I went through, I went through the scenes that you gave us. I have some ideas and I'll throw some of those at you a little later on. But again, it's not a ton. I mean, it's 10 pages. It's different fragment of ideas. It's not, so we'll work on it. We'll work on it together.
Sure.
Yeah. And so we'll see. And all right. And so here's the first part of the writing session. We're not going to use the timer for this part. I simply want you to just take a moment and write down something that you're grateful for today. Take a moment, sort of express gratitude as we begin the session. For those of you, watching at home, same thing. I want you to go ahead and just take a moment, write something down that you're grateful for today.
I'm a slow typer. Okay.
All right, so you got something you're grateful for. Great. Thank you for that, John. You know, you got your you know, and is the keyboard, is it in a good place for you? Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable at the desk?
Fine.
Okay, you're good?
No.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna start now. You know, we have a timer on the table. Hopefully we can see this at home. But essentially, every time we write, it's gonna be 3 minutes. So, you know, that's gonna be the timer. The first thing we're gonna throw you into the fire, John. We're just gonna have you just literally just, when you're ready, we're gonna have you press start on the timer for 3 minutes.
Okay.
And for this session, I'm actually not going to interfere. It's going to be you sort of dealing with your notes, your scenes, and just any new ideas, anything related to your previous material. Just going to have you write on your own for 3 minutes. And Karen and I here, we're going to stay out of the way. So when you're ready, go ahead, press the start button, and we'll stay out of the way.
Okay. Do you want me to press the start button before I
Yeah, press it, and then
look for the ideas?
yeah, and then just start. You know, then your writing session begins.
Okay. Oh.
All right, John. I think we just reached our time.
Okay.
Excellent. I wasn't sure what to expect because you don't write all the time. You haven't written in a long time, and yet, you know, and especially you have two people in the room with you, and you just started typing. How did that first part feel? The first 3 minutes?
It was good. The first scene that was just appeared up there, I was like, okay, yeah, I think I can make this a little better.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, because it's been a while since you've looked at it, essentially.
Well, I sort of reviewed them when I emailed them to you, but I haven't thought about them much.
Yeah, not much.
So I thought what I would do with the time that I had is maybe see if I could go through some of the other scenes and do the same thing. So.
Trying to polish. Okay, I like it. Polish it up again. All right, here's the thing. We're gonna we're gonna do it again. We're gonna give you another 3 minutes.
Okay.
We're kind of warming up here. Same thing, those at home. We're gonna give you sort of another, pull up your notes or whatever story you're working on, whatever scenes you're working on. We're gonna give you another 3 minutes to just sort of do your writing. So we'll do that again, John. So as you're ready, reset the timer.
Okay.
Thank you for doing the timer for us, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. All right.
All right, here we go. All right, John, we've reached our time. Excellent. Excellent. How do you feel about the 3-minute time? How does that work for you? I'm just curious.
Well, it's interesting because it was fine for the last one because it was just a little bit of stuff that I could add on but for this one, I've realized that I really need to flesh out the scene, the whole scene more.
Interesting.
And not being a screenwriter, I don't know the best way to make it more cinematic to the reader of the script. So that's my challenge. So I was just kind of getting into, okay, how would I rewrite this if I were going to make it more cinematic,
So do you have any other observations besides just like you're trying to make it cinematic, and any other observations you're noticing from like either this session or the previous session?
Well, the previous session was simpler and easier because of the fact that it was just a little polish that I needed to add on there.
Okay.
I realized. But with this one, it needs to be fleshed out. So,
Okay.
so it's going to take more than 3 minutes.
All right. Well, the good news is I'm going to give you one more sort of free, writing session, 3 minutes, one more session, and then after this session, then I'm going to jump in with you and start asking you some questions, and we'll try to, we'll start having fun with the story questions and all this kind of thing. So,
Okay.
but we'll give you one more without that, just you, and and so we'll let you continue. We'll let you pick up where you left off.
All right, great.
All right. So when you're ready, go ahead and set the timer.
Okay.
Those of you at home, please go ahead, get ready for your own writing session, and when you're ready. All right, John, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that was excellent. That was excellent. Good job, John. Yeah, I gotta admit, when you, inviting you over here, knowing that you're not like you wouldn't call yourself a writer, I was wondering, especially with Karen and I, we're sitting here watching you, got the camera, I figured like you were gonna sort of maybe freeze up or like have like writer's block or something, but you've like taken right to it. You just jump right in and writing. I think it's great.
Well,
Yeah,
this
job.
story's close to my heart, and I'm just imagining the finished product of what I'm writing.
Oh, great.
So, and like I said, I know when I write, I know I'm in the flow when I'm laughing at myself or smiling at myself or when I'm feeling the feels of the scene.
Oh, good.
So.
Yeah, excellent. I'm curious, one thing I want to ask you and also the people watching, or anyone watching is what are, like, don't answer this right away, but like, what are the questions like that are coming to your mind as you're writing? I'm just curious, think about that for a moment. Same thing for those watching. What questions were going on in your mind while you were writing, and maybe write those questions down yourself if you're watching this. But John, what were some of the questions were coming up as you were writing?
the questions mainly came at the top when I first started looking at the scene after I read it, and that question was, how can I make this more clear? How can I add clarity to it? And then once I kind of grabbed onto that question, I just started writing in ways that I thought, well, this seems more clear to me.
Okay.
Because I know what I was trying to say when I first wrote it, but I thought, no, if I were reading this and I were not somebody who was familiar with what was in my head, how would I better present it? So that was, and then I just started writing in a way that would reflect that, the answer to that question.
And then any other questions, or that was the main thing?
That was the main
that was
focus
the main thing.
of the last two sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, we often hear that. We often hear that writers will have the idea in their head and then they'll put it into their work, but it doesn't necessarily always translate to the reader, or like they might not necessarily get what's in your head, and that's part of the writing challenge.
Yes, exactly.
All right, great job so far, John. I'm enjoying this. All right, so now what I've done is I've pulled just some fairly simple questions from our book, Story Questions, and I'm gonna just throw them out at you one at a time. So we're gonna, instead of now you writing on your own, now I'm gonna throw these questions at you, and
Still using the timer?
still using the timer, exactly.
Okay.
Here's the first one. What is the heart and soul of the story you are writing? So actually, I want you to type this question out. So
Okay.
Go ahead and type this out.
Okay.
What is the heart and soul of the story you are writing? Same thing at home. Go ahead and type this question out. What is the heart and soul of the story you are writing? What is the heart and soul of the story you are writing? And one thing I should mention, I don't think I mentioned this yet, is, I don't want to necessarily judge your writing. I don't want you to edit your writing. When we start the timer, it's just writing. You just write 3 minutes at a time. Don't overthink it. Even someone like John here, who doesn't write all the time, he sits down, he gets into the flow. That's what we're looking for. Just sit down, get into the flow.
Ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
All right, John, we've reached our time.
Great.
You stuck in a couple extra words. That's great. So,
Yes, I did. Well, I want to finish the thought.
so that's great. So we threw one question at you, and you were able to write pretty much the entire 3 minutes.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I would get to a pause and I go, I can say more about that, you know.
Cool. Yeah, I'm curious. Just how would you rate that question? If you had to rate that question on a scale of 1 to 10.
I'd give it a 10. Yeah,
I like that question.
That's you know, when you boil it down to you know, that's what story's all about. You know, what's the heart and soul of the story? I mean, that really adds, like I said, like I always look for clarity. Mm-hmm. You know, how can I make it clear?
And then, can you give us a little taste? Is there anything you just wrote that you're willing to share?
I can share it all, actually, but I don't know.
Just give us a little taste. Just give what would you say the heart and soul of the story you're working on? What is it? You know, you don't have to say like the plot or anything like that, but just in terms of what you feel is the heart and soul. Just curious.
The family, and the family can include friends who are family. So, and that was kind of the gist of what I was writing, but I expounded on it a little bit. Okay. So
that's great. No, I like that. So now, you know, sort of, you know, because like you said, family. So we're gonna maybe these next two questions, they might go a little bit deeper on that. Maybe we'll see. You know, they might continue this sort of thread that we've started here. So I'm gonna have you type up two questions.
Okay.
The first question's kind of a two-parter, sort of. So I want you to go ahead and write, what's my emotional connection to the story? Or what's my emotional connection to this story? What's my emotional connection to this story? And then, can I find one?
okay.
So I'm treating that as one question. What's my emotional connection to this story? Can I find one? And now the next question, so this is actually a 2-for-1. So and now this one's very close though. The next question is, can you connect with this story on a human level? Can you connect with this story on a human level?
Okay.
So you breathe those in for a moment. When you're ready, go ahead, set the timer.
Are we taking them as separate or all one?
That's what we're going to experiment with here. We're going to try to like take in these two questions.
Okay.
But you know, again, they're kind of similar, but it's up to you where you go with it. So kind of, you're in the writer's chair.
All right.
All right, John. We've reached our time there. Yeah, what I'm loving about this is it's wild. You can just see how you just throw someone just a question and it can keep someone busy typing. And you were ready to type more than that, huh?
I was. I just had a couple more things I wanted to put.
Oh, I'm curious because that time I kind of threw two questions. Was there one over the other? Is there one you more gravitated to more than the other?
There's one that I had more of more words to answer with.
Okay.
You know, the first one was pretty simple. Boom, this is, you know, this is how I connect to it.
Okay.
The second one, the emotional connection. The second one, I wanted to take more words to express what was going on with the question.
So you took that as you took that differently. The emotional connection you took one way, and then this human level, that kind of brought.
Yeah, I did. Because
Interesting.
it made me reflect a little bit more on the first question.
Okay, but those two work pretty well together.
Yes.
Yeah, because throughout what we've written, there's a lot of sort of questions that are very similar in nature as you go along, as you read it. So that's why I wanted to just try and just test it out and just see how someone would do it live. So thank you for that. Yeah,
you
thank
bet.
you for that. Yeah. All right. So, following, just tapping into your story just for a moment. I'm curious because you said previously family. Can you share a little bit about this connection that you have to the story that anything you're willing to share there or no?
Oh, sure.
And again, if you don't want to, just say, Dave, I don't feel comfortable.
No,
I'll
that's
stop,
fine. Because all the scenes that I sent you were a lot of the scenes, several of the scenes were based on things that either I had heard because of my mother telling me about it, what my father had done as a police officer, or legend from other family members or friends of his that had happened to him while he was in the police department, things that he had done to sort of become bigger than life. So, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a deeply personal story for you.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit more lighthearted in nature. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah.
But the core of it, though, there's a lot of stuff there.
Right.
Cop background with your dad, and just so that's where you really connect to that part of the story.
Yes.
That's you pouring your soul into it there.
Yes. Exactly.
That's good. All right. I'm going to reveal a little bit of information here. Again, if you, at any point throughout this entire session, if you just say, hey, I don't necessarily want that known or out there, then just let me know. It's not a big deal. Just let me know. But I do have this custom question just for you. This isn't for the timer. This is just because you have sort of two characters that as far as that I know that are sort of featured in this story. Like sort of, you could almost say two main characters.
Yeah.
Sort of. But I want you to just quickly think about and then answer verbally which of those two characters in this story is going to experience the larger or bigger transformation. Which one, which one is really going to transform? One maybe doesn't transform as much.
Right.
Can you think about that?
Yeah.
You have an answer to that?
Yeah, I got the answer to that.
Oh, so okay, so you know that. Okay. So the one that has the bigger transformation, for the purposes of all this, I'm going to go ahead and say that's the main character.
Okay.
The one that's going to change more in the story. We're going to use that as the main character. Okay, so now I'm going to have you type up this question. How is the main character's life going to be changed forever? How is the main character's life going to be changed forever? So John is typing up the question. Hopefully everyone watching this, hopefully you're typing up the question, how is the main character's life going to be changed forever?
We ready to go on that?
Yeah. Okay, we have restart time.
Period.
It's amazing. Just a question in 3 minutes. How do you feel about that, John, in terms of like how much you're writing so far?
Well, it's interesting because what I find is that, like this last question,
Yeah.
I thought, well, I could end it here, and then I would pause and reread the answer and go, no, I can add more to that. I've got time. I can add more, you know. So whenever the time stops, I'll stop. But I probably could have written a little bit more, but it would just be adding icing to the cake. So, you know, it would be saying essentially the same thing. So I think 3 minutes is a good amount of time for the questions we've gotten so far.
Excellent, excellent. And you feel good about the work that everything you're typing up so far? Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah.
Were you able to visualize a change for the character?
Yes, I had pictured it when I first conceived the story, but I hadn't fleshed it out as thoroughly as I have here.
Really? So you're able to think a little bit deeper on that?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, I knew the change that I wanted to see, but I hadn't considered the fact that that character would be going through the most change, which he would.
Yeah. All right, so here's the next question I have for you, John. I got a couple more of these story questions for you, and and then we're gonna go, a little bit deep. You and I, again, I'll come up to that, but we're gonna first a couple more story questions, and then we'll get into a little deeper into the actual scenes that you sent us. And so, the question is, what does you want to type this up?
Okay.
What does each of the main characters want most of all in this story? And for those of you watching at home, what does your main character want most of all in this story? So for you, John, what does each of the main characters want most of all in this story? I wouldn't typically do this, but like I said, you kind of have two characters at the front and center of your story that are,
right.
From what I can tell, it seems like they're kind of in it together.
Yes.
So what does each of the main characters want most of all in this story? And for those of you watching, what does your main character want most of all in this story?
Ready?
You got it? Okay.
There we go. All right.
So now the pressure's on because you got 3 minutes to think about two characters. And I've gotten a signal. We've reached time, John.
Oh, good, good.
You know, one thing I'm enjoying is the fact that when we get to the writing session, how eager you are to set that timer and to start writing. It's pretty cool.
Thanks.
No, I think that's great. Were you able to sort of answer that question for both your characters?
Yeah, one character was a longer answer than the other one. So, but yeah, I got them both down. Yeah.
Interesting. And then overall, how do you feel like these questions are helping your writing process?
Well, once again, going back to clarity, it helps to clarify for me. I think the way they're going to help is with story structure and trimming the fat. I know all writers say you can't be married to any one scene or any particular moment in the story. So I know that when the story gets developed, I know it's going to be a process of this will have to go in the sequel. This scene will have to go in the sequel.
Okay, so I'm going to throw one last story question at you. I'm going to have you type this up. What is the worst thing that has ever happened in the main character's life? What is the worst thing that has ever happened in the main character's life? Make sure you type that up at home. What is the worst thing that has ever happened what is the worst thing that has ever happened in the main character's life? In your case, John, we went ahead and we distinguished between one character and the other. So you have one character that's the main character. So what is the worst thing that has ever happened to that character? And
set the timer. Yeah, set the timer.
And that's more of the past. That's not something not necessarily in this story, but just something from the past. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Time. All right, restart time there, John. Excellent work. Had you ever thought about that question before?
No, I had not. So
Do you think do you think that could somehow find its way into the story somehow, or no?
Oh yeah. I really think it could. No doubt about it. How that would how that would manifest itself, I don't know, but yeah, I can see that.
But that's helpful. It's something to think about that maybe comes into play, maybe doesn't. But it's good to know that.
Yeah.
No, you did an excellent job. We threw out some story questions to you. These are fairly simple. We didn't throw anything too complicated. These are all like simple. But I'm wondering, as a whole, some of these story questions we threw at you, does this sort of help answer some things for you in your story? Does it like open up some possibilities?
It opens up some possibilities, but I've always felt like I've had more of the stuff that I've had more scenes that I would like to bring into it than I have room for a 90-minute or 2-hour film.
Of course, yeah.
So,
but just thinking off the cuff here. I would say, that's a big part of the writing process. To me, there's nothing wrong with getting a lot of those scenes down, and then having those scenes, not necessarily worrying about the structure up front. We're gonna move on from this point. We're gonna come back into your scenes, but I'm gonna have specific notes for you, John.
Okay.
And some of these ideas that you sent us. In terms of those of you watching, I'm not sure how much of John's scenes we're gonna actually reveal in this video. But just know that here in the studio, we're sort of like helping John work on his scenes. And as we do that, we're going to sort of like throw a question your way as well. So anyone watching, I'll have just more sort of questions about scenes that'll hopefully keep you busy while we stay busy here with John. As we mentioned a few times already, you sent us some scenes, you emailed them to us. I was able to look them over. I was able to come up with some ideas. These some of the questions I'm gonna have for you, ideas, they're not necessarily story questions, so to say, but they're kind of inspired by the work. Right. And so the first scene you sent us, I'll just call it "Bad Guy in the Car."
Okay.
That was the first scene that you sent us. And so I guess I'll just say that I'll just read this out to you, the notes that I have, and I don't know if I necessarily you need to type this up, but so I basically have 3 options for this scene in terms of how we'll spend these next 3 minutes with you. In terms of this police car scene with the bad guy in the back seat, what specifically does each character want in that scene at that moment in time of this story? So you have 2 guys in the front, you have the 2 police officers in front, then you have the bad guy in the back.
Right.
What specifically does each one want? And then as a just an additional note to that, my feeling is that Pat, this can't be something he just kind of goes along with. Like Pat needs to put up some sort of resistance.
Okay.
That's my thought on that.
Okay.
He needs to put up some kind of resistance. So you have that. That's one option, is writing about what specifically does each character want in that scene, at that moment in time. You have another part where with the bad guy, I'm curious, like, how was he arrested? What was that arrest? What did he do? Where was he caught? Like, how was he caught? Who is he? Who is he connected to? Is he just working by himself? Is he connected to someone else? So those are some questions I have there.
Right.
So we have sort of that precursor, like kind of like what happened before they're in the car here. So I have that option. And then number 3, the third option that I get from this bad guy in the car is I feel that Pat needs to confront, I'm just going to call him Franco instead of this other name you have for him. I'm going to call him Franco. Okay?
Okay.
So you have Pat confronting Franco.
Okay.
So I feel like after they bring the bad guy in, they get him like in behind bars, whatever. I feel like there needs to be some kind of scene where Pat confronts. That's just my feeling.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I feel like my feeling is, again, that's just my interpretation. And so those are the 3 options I have for you.
Okay.
Which one of those 3 speaks to you the most?
Well, the one that got me really thinking was the middle one, but I don't remember what it was.
Okay. All right.
Right,
So the middle one is what is the arrest scene of the bad guy? So you're gonna write the precursor. What happened
Right.
before? Like, because we catch him, he's in the squad car, but what was he doing? Who's he connected to?
Right.
You know. So I'll have you write the question down. Ready?
Oh, okay.
All right. So here's your question, John.
Okay.
What is the arrest scene of the bad guy? What did he do? Where is he caught? How was he caught? Who is he? And who is he connected to? And I'm just curious, is that a scene you had thought of previously? Have you thought of that? Have you written it before?
I hadn't thought of that scene. Well, yes, I had thought about that scene, but in passing.
Okay, but it's not okay. So
it
this
wasn't the focus of. I mean, this scene kind of came out from an experience that I had heard about
okay.
in my family, and or something similar to it, and so. I know there had to be a before, but I hadn't put that in the story yet.
Okay. So yeah, again, this might be something. Maybe it's useful, maybe it's not. But
Right.
All right. So we gave John his scene. You know, we went through his sort of notes and his scene. And for you guys writing at home, here's a question for you: who are the characters in this scene? What do they want? And what obstacles are in the way? Who are the characters in this scene? What do they want, and what are the obstacles in the way? All right, but you're ready in your scene, John?
Yes.
All right. Okay, restart time. Good job, John.
Oh, low battery.
Yep. You noticed it at the same time we did. Go ahead and press. Can you see it? Can you press low power?
Low power mode?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Charger?
Yeah, I'll deal with that in just one moment. How did that
It was
work
good.
for you?
I knew I only had 3 minutes, so I had to be succinct. But I think I got everything that I needed to get in there.
You got the big ideas down.
Yeah, I got the big ideas out. So that was enough time to do that. And having a time limit on it was great because it really allows me to focus on the answer.
Great.
You know,
Yeah.
and being clear on the answer.
And just figuring that out. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So a quick break here. Let me just see if I can plug this in and we can get that working, and then we'll pick back up. All right. Well, that was fantastic. John has volunteered to let us borrow his phone. So now we got our timer back. It's a nice, bright, beautiful phone. Thank you, John. All right. So now we're going to move on to your next scene, which I'm calling Take Out the Garbage. All right. I'm calling it Take Out the Garbage.
Okay.
And essentially is you have the mom character asking
Oh, yes.
one of the daughters to take out the garbage. And so the questions that I have for you, these are the questions I have for you to think about here.
Okay.
What is the mom character actually doing in that moment? What is she actually doing?
Okay. Let me write this down.
Yeah, so I have a few questions. I'll have you write down all these questions. What is the mom character actually doing in that moment?
Okay.
What if she has a small conflict she's dealing with at that moment? So essentially, like, what if she's doing something else? What if she's dealing with putting out some other little fire while she's asking about the garbage?
Okay.
And then the same thing with the characters Franco and Pat. Like, what are they doing at this moment? Because I get the feeling like they kind of like come in from nowhere. So it also makes me wonder, like, what were they doing? Where are they coming from?
Okay.
In this case, you could also think about, like, what were they doing before this? What were they doing leading up to this moment? And also another question for you to write down is what obstacles can you put in this scene? Because you have it, you have this scene, but for the most part, what are the little things we can add into it to really sort of build this thing out a little bit more?
Okay.
And so those are the questions I have for you, for your scene, John.
Okay.
And for those watching, what is revealed about the characters over the course of this scene? What is revealed about the characters over the course of this scene? So those watching, whatever scene you're working on, or pull up a scene and then type up this question. What is revealed about the characters over the course of this scene? All right, so John, you got your questions. We got the new timer. Time. You pretty much typed almost that entire time, John. We gave you a lot to think about there.
Yeah. Well, I came up with a potential scenario, and wasn't sure if I'd have time to get it all out there.
Do you feel like just those questions there, you felt like that made what you had a little bit better?
Boy, yeah, it adds a context to the scene. You know, this was just a scene that, for me, I hadn't given much thought to. It was kind of a cool scene, I thought, for myself to write, and I haven't given much thought to the before. You know, what happened before the scene, what led up to this scene, and that really helps put it in perspective.
Yeah, because I like, in terms of some of the dialogue you have that, you know, I'm not going to spoil the dialogue or whatever, but some of the dialogue you have afterward, I really like that dialogue. You know, I really like that. So, but yeah, and I feel like even with what you're thinking of now, like there still could be so much more you pour into it and really shape this. Like there'd be much more sort of dynamics you can throw into it. But hopefully this just gets you a little bit closer to eventually than where it would need to be.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm just curious, which of the questions, because I gave you what, like 5 questions or something?
Well, yeah. The first.
Which one did you? You don't have to give the answer, but which question did you go with, or which ones?
Well, I tried to get them all, but I couldn't. I got first. I've got the first 4.
Oh wow. Okay. So you were going one after the other.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so now we're going to move on to your next scene that you gave us. I'm calling it the Bigfoot chase. Not Bigfoot, but just Bigfoot chase.
Oh, right.
So, you know, and I'm not trying to hurt your feelings here, John, but you know, I found like basically this scene you have here, I find the dialogue there very fun. So you guys have a lot of fun dialogue.
Yes, yeah.
But essentially, there's not necessarily anything at stake in this scene.
Right.
There's no conflict. I mean, there is conflict, but we're not really seeing the actual conflict.
Right.
And I'm not going to say what else happens in the scene, but this could be like a little fun thing. And so the questions I have for this scene would be, again, what happens right before this moment? If you want to type that down, what happens right before this moment? And then I have another question for you, which maybe this plays in, maybe it doesn't, but it was just a thought that came to my mind, is what if one of the characters gets hurt in this scene? You know, using the question, what if one of the characters gets hurt in this scene? Because like I said, what you have so far, the notes you gave me, it's much more upbeat, but so that's something for you to think about. All right, so those are the main things I just want you to think about for that scene. Just what happens right before, what if one of them gets hurt. For those watching at home, let me give you this question. What is important to you about this scene? What is important to you about this scene? All right, John. time. Yeah, how was that, John? How are those two questions?
Well, I focused on the first one because, like I said, I hadn't really thought about it before.
Yeah.
This is another one of those scenes where I just thought, oh, this would be fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You
So
were just getting this, like, the fun parts down.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It came to it, I thought, oh, I just got to get this on paper.
Yeah.
So I got it down. So I didn't really think of what happened beforehand. As far as the one of the characters getting hurt,
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that either. I think that's definitely a possibility. But what I came up with was one of the characters could get hurt, but it wouldn't be life-threatening. It's only a flesh wound. You know,
but and that could impact so many, that everything that happens after, depending on how bad they get hurt.
Right.
That could, all of a sudden you got one of the characters wearing a cast.
Right.
There's so many things. Now you have different things to play with.
Right.
Again, it's just a question, just something to think about.
Yeah, that's
it was
fun.
just something that occurred to me as I looked at it. Like, what if it also sort of increases the stakes of that scene.
It does, yeah. That's for sure.
You know, and again, it changes the dynamics, everything moving forward. So I just wanted you to think about that. Now here's the thing. Now, the next scene that you sent us, am I right? Now, that was sort of the spark for the entire movie. Like, this is the thing. This is the scene that got you excited for the whole story. Is that right?
Yeah.
So there's lots of scenes. So for this particular scene,
in fact, I envisioned this scene opening the film.
Interesting.
If not the first scene, very early on.
This is going to happen. I feel like this might even be more of a turning point scene.
Right.
I don't even know if this would be the opening scene. Just me personally. But again, it's not my story. This is your story to tell.
Right.
But there's actually something else you wrote that we haven't gotten to yet that I think actually maybe could be the opening scene. So
I'm open to that.
Yeah, but this is obviously going to happen early in the story, and to me, these are some of the thoughts. These are some of the questions I have for you. So I have sort of a broad question first. How can you heighten the emotion of this scene, or how could you heighten the emotion in this scene? So that's just sort of an overarching, sort of broad question. Maybe you're not going to focus in on that. I'm going to give you some other questions to focus in on, but that's something I think you just want to have in the back of your mind. How can you heighten the emotion in this scene?
Okay.
And this is a scene that that I may end up just taking some of the stuff that I say I may take out. So this is a part that I may edit, but I'm just going to give it all for the moment.
Sure.
You have a line that says, he kisses his new bride. So that's a line that you have in there. And so my question that I want you to type is, how can we play up this scene of two newlyweds? How can we play up these two lovebirds? How can things be even more perfect? Because we all know, like, newlyweds, they're just so lovey-dovey and they're so perfect. So how can things be even more perfect?
Okay.
I feel like we need to see more of that dynamic.
Okay.
My next question for you to type up is, what would happen if you really play up this perfect relationship? So what would happen if you really play up this perfect relationship and Franco doesn't want to go to work?
Oh, okay.
Because that's the thing. If you're a newlywed and you're excited, are you really going to want to go to work? So what if he doesn't want to go to work? What if he just wants to spend all day with his new bride?
Right.
So there's that component that he has going on inside him. Like, He actually doesn't want to go to work. But then at the same time, he has this thing in him where he can never be late to anything.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So on the one hand, like he doesn't want to go, he just wants to be with his new bride. But then part of his personality is he can never be late to anything. So that's putting him in like this little bit of a dilemma there. And what if she gets a little mad at him for leaving? Like, what if she gets like a little cute, like, I mean, she knows he's gonna go, but what if she gets mad at him for like always being like, can't you just be late this one time? Or what if she's teasing him back or teasing him in a way? So that all kind of plays into how can we sort of play up these two lovebirds, like play up that component of that scene. Right?
Right.
So we have that part of the scene. Now there's another part of the scene. How does Franco get out of that? So that's something to think about. I'm going to give you sort of all my notes and questions now. What are the different things he can say? And what are the different things he can do?
Okay.
The next question for the scene is what does she do after this scene?
Okay.
Next question for you to type is, what if she has to confront Franco?
Okay.
And now I have one last sort of grouping of questions here for you. I want you to think of 5 or more scenarios. I want you to think of 5 or more scenarios where she is going to confront Franco.
Okay.
I don't want you to make it easy on him.
Okay.
I want you to make it tough on him. I want her to confront him at the worst time. So she's not going to confront him here in private. She's going to confront him at the worst time. It's going to be the wrong place. It's going to be like a big celebration. It's going to be something. It's going to be something big.
Okay.
So just think about that for a second. I gave you a lot to work with there, John. Gave you a lot, but this is a big scene.
Can you give me 20 minutes?
So we'll give you the 3 minutes and just work on whatever facet there. Yeah, pulls at you the most there.
Okay.
And then for those of you watching at home, I had a question here for you. How are the characters in this scene at odds with one another in regards to what they want? Go ahead and type that down. How are the characters in this scene at odds with one another in regards to what they want? All right, John, if you want to go ahead and reset the timer.
Okay.
right, restart time, John.
Okay.
I'll let you go on a little bit there. That was a lot to work on there, huh?
Yeah. I chose the 5 or more scenarios.
Oh, great. Oh, wow. Okay. So,
So-
you went for the big one there.
Yeah, I did. I got to the 4th one. I was on the 4th one when.
So that entire time you just spent on that part of it?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I focused
so
on
you had
that.
different ideas. So you were able to drum up. You were able to imagine different scenarios.
Yes.
Oh, very cool. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's okay. Yeah, I figured you would hold off on that and try some other ones. I'm glad you went for that one.
Yeah, no, I thought I'd go for the whole enchilada on that one.
Yeah, because that's like that's the spark of this whole story for you is this
Yeah,
scene and
yeah.
and so but you see there's so much more that you can still play with and sort of tap into. There's so much more you can get out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had you thought about the confrontation at all or anything like that?
I thought about what happened in the scene and some possible, and I thought about how can I make the scene more potent, but I didn't come up with any ideas. So,
Okay. But now this
yes.
you were triggered a little bit there.
Oh, yeah.
You kept that going. So all right, so now we're gonna move on to the
Okay.
next scene. I'm gonna just simply call it the prayer scene. And
Right.
this one is a much smaller scene, very simple. And when I read this scene and I thought about it, really what I realized is this scene isn't really about Pat and his family.
Right.
It's not really about them. It's really about who I'm calling Franco.
Yes.
And so it's more about Franco and his emotional state at that time of that
Right.
scene. Like that's really what the scene's about. So I wanted you to take this next session, and I just felt like I need, somehow like I need to feel more emotion there from Franco. And so I just wanted you to here's the question I have for you. Can you write about the emotional state of being
Okay.
that Franco is in during this moment?
Oh, it's
Can you write about the emotional state of being that Franco was in during this moment? Can you write about the emotional state of being that Franco was in during this moment? There's obviously a lot more questions I could ask, but I just felt like that was one that was sort of crucial, just to kind of like zero in on that question first,
right.
and just sort of bring that more to the surface. So
Right.
we'll see. That one, maybe there's a lot of juice there, maybe there's not, but go ahead and reset the timer.
Oh, right. Okay.
Here's the question that I have for those of you watching. How is this scene creating momentum for the next scene? How is this scene creating momentum for the next scene? All right, John, go for it. Thank you. I've gotten the signal, John.
Okay.
We still have time. So that was great. So that was just a question. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to do the full 3 minutes on that one.
Oh yeah.
And you did. You went. This is pretty amazing. Each time, like, I keep thinking, like, okay, finally John's gonna get stumped, and then somehow each time, even though, yeah, it's just, I love it. I love the fact that you're finding a way to just with these questions and right through this.
Well, I feel like I've really connected to this story, so that helps.
So that helps.
Yeah.
Even though you haven't thought about this as much or worked on it as
Right.
much recently, so this is something you worked on many, many years ago, and even all these years later, you're still that connected to it where you can sit down and write.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. All right, so any comment? I'm just curious. Any comment from this last session of this emotion?
Oh no, because other than the fact that it really helps to these are the scenes that some of the scenes that you have chosen were ones that I didn't put a whole lot of effort into. I just wanted to get them out there, and get them down.
Yeah.
And so some of the questions you're asking are great in terms of making you realize, well, maybe this could have happened at this point in the story, or maybe this could have happened at this point in the story. This happened before this. This happened. When does all this stuff happen? These are just a bunch of scenes, but when do they happen?
Yeah.
And
how was it for you to revisit this work? Like revisit these scenes, revisit this world, revisit this story?
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. It really is. I really, like I said, I really feel connected to it. I'm really glad to be putting the effort into it.
Nice. Okay. I think we're coming up basically on the last scene that I have for you that you sent us.
Okay.
And I'll just call it the hair scene.
Right.
And here's the first question, and I had already alluded to this before.
Yes.
But the first question I want you to write down here is,
okay,
what if this scene was the opening scene of the movie?
okay.
Because my feeling is, again, just going through what, you didn't send me that much, but in terms of what you sent me, I thought like, wow, like this would be a potential scene to maybe introduce these two characters.
Right.
You know what I mean? You could kind of see different sides of them. So that's one question there. And then the next question I have for you is, there's this car and it's surrounded by all these police cars, but what kind of car is it? What is that car that this person's in? Is it a Ferrari? You don't have to do all that, but I'm just curious. You have this car surrounded, but what is it? Is it like a little Datsun, or is it a scrappy little car? And then the next question after that is who is this guy inside the car? Who is this guy?
Okay.
How can you make this guy a bigger threat? How can you make this guy a bigger threat? Because if you make this guy in this scenario a bigger threat, now you have like what's potentially an opening scene of a story.
Right.
You're immediately raising the stakes. You're kind of pulling us all in. So that's sort of the potential that I saw in this scene here. Then the next question I have for you to type up is this an isolated confrontation? Is this an isolated confrontation? Or is this character connected to the antagonist? Actually, is this character connected to the antagonistic forces? Or it could be, or the antagonist. that your main characters are going to be dealing with in the story? So that's the question I had there. Is this sort of like an isolated situation, or is this tying into the bigger picture of the whole story?
Okay.
And then my last question for this one is, what if the producers come to you and they say, hey, you know what, this thing you're doing with the hair, we got to scrap that. We got to come up with something else. What if, like, we can't do this in 2025, whatever, we can't do this with the hair. So can you, is there something else we can do to create the same sort of effect, but it just has to be something different? You see him smiling?
Okay, anything else?
So those are the questions I have for you.
Okay.
Here's my question for those of you watching. How does the main character's dialogue reflect what they are trying to accomplish in this scene? How does the main character's dialogue reflect what they are trying to accomplish in this scene? All right, John. Go ahead and start when you're ready with the timer. All right, that's time, John. I got the fun signal here behind the scenes. I love it. Yeah, how you holding up? You pretty much powered through all these scenes with us. How do you feel?
Great.
Yeah.
This is fun. I'm having a
Fun.
good time.
Good time writing. Yeah, we're having a good time right now. That's great. And then
The wheels are turning.
The wheels turning. So what did you think of my notes there in terms of, that being a potential opening scene for you?
Yeah, I love the scene because there's a lot of truth in this scene and a lot of legend in this scene, and I couldn't figure out where to put it, because I had already figured out what I wanted for my first scene. So I was like, well, it can't go there, but no, I didn't think it can't go there. I just never thought of it going there, but I do like that.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something to think about and explore. Yeah, I just want to commend you, John. This has been something in terms of not, I didn't know if there was going to be if we were going to be filming a lot of writer's block, but every time so far you've sat down and you've sort of like plugged away and you've typed through this and, you're holding up pretty well so far?
Yeah, I'm great.
Okay, all right. So here's what I'm hoping to do next. We're going to basically just shift. I was going to have you do more, but we're going to just take a quick pause here. We're going to pull up the story questions. All right, so here we go, John. We've reached our sort of third act. We've reached our finale here.
Okay.
So now we've pulled up the story questions for you. You've pulled up the story questions. We're just going to have you go through, maybe start with the chapters or something and figure out where you want to go. And then maybe just pick out like 3 questions. Okay. And then you're going to just go through, just pick out 3 questions, type those up, and then after you have the 3 typed up, then I'll check back with you and you'll kind of tell us which questions you chose. We'll have you, and then we'll do the 3-minute writing sessions.
Okay, I found them. They're all just right there.
Okay, all right. You want to go ahead and type those up?
Okay.
Yeah, type up your questions, and then we'll reveal them one by one. I wasn't expecting to get a laugh from you, John.
It's a laugh of pleasure.
Okay, all right. We'll take it. That's a good thing.
Should I write them up separately so that I'll put space in between it so I can answer each one separately?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so you had many hundreds of questions to choose from, John. Tell me the first one.
The first one is, do you love this story like it is your baby?
Okay. All right. So why did you choose that one? You feel like you have a lot to say about that?
I feel like I have something to say about that.
Okay. All right. Let's just start with that one. Let's just let's reset the timer. Then we'll get into the next 2 after this. And what's the question again? Why do you love this story like it's your baby?
Do you love this story?
Do you love your story like it's your baby?
Yes.
And that is time. And why did you choose that question, John?
Well, I chose it because it's at a point in the list of questions where I wanted to check in with me, and so I went to this session because that's what the session was about, was checking in with me, my part in the process. And so when I got here, the first 3 questions just popped out at me. So, and that's why I laughed, because like, oh my gosh, these are perfect.
Okay, I love it. Perfect. And then, all right, so then what was this? You said they were all kind of together. What was the next question that came up?
Okay. Let's see.
And that's pretty cool that you were able to write. You were able to write again. You're like hitting every 3-minute session, like no problem here, John. There's just been like a couple times where maybe it took you like maybe 10 seconds to get into the flow, I think one time, but for the most part,
Right.
you've been flowing pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's something I'm passionate about. This story anyway. This idea.
And overall, is this whole writing session, is it helping you find more of that passion?
Yeah.
It's bringing more of it out.
Yeah.
See, that's the magic. That's what we're trying to do here. I love it. All right, so what's the next question you found?
How is this story rooted in love?
Yeah, I like that question. I'm glad you found that one.
Yeah.
Say it again.
How is this story rooted in love?
All right, that's going to be a fun writing session right there. Okay. When you're ready, let's reset it, John. Hopefully you guys got that at home. And that is time. There you go. Good job, John. This is
Period.
Yeah, I mean, you can come back to some of this. We're coming to the end here. What I'm realizing, what's really cool is, Karen and I, we spend a lot of time, putting these questions together, and in this case with you, it's like you haven't even worked on this story in years, and then just as I just sit back and observe and realize, like, we throw all these simple little questions in front of you, and it's like you have the story like right at your fingertips. You know what I mean? Like it's like right there. And I guess from our point of view, it's like, this is the first time we're sort of like doing this live experiment in person, like we're seeing it, So it's like, it's one thing to be like, all right, we're going to put this together, not knowing if it's really going to work at all, And then to have you here and you're excited and you're smiling and just to see that effect is really cool. So just me sort of thinking out loud there. It's really neat. Yeah, really neat. I don't know if you have anything you want to add at this point in terms of what I just said, or.
I'm just having a great time. I could do this for hours.
For hours. We've done it. We've been doing it for hours. So thank you, John. You're persistent. But I guess the good news, in some respect, is we're at the final question. So you have one more question that you wrote down.
Right.
What is the final one you saw there that you picked out?
Where is the love in this story?
Wait. So what was the last question you just did?
The last question was, how is this story rooted in love?
Okay. How's it rooted in love? And then what's this final question?
This final question is, where is the love?
Where is the love?
In this story? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you got that typed up. And, so I wasn't sure like where you'd want to go at the end here, because we've kind of like, we've done some broad sort of like story questions, and then we kind of like got into some specific with your scenes. And it's interesting to see here at the end, now you've kind of gone into like almost sort of like what's the why behind all this, like why are you doing this? Those are the ones that you gravitated towards, at the end, because in the story, in the full thing, like we cover like so many aspects, like there's so many topics, so many chapters that kind of will take you through all of it. And it's interesting to see that you've gravitated toward sort of like the why.
As I was looking through the contents, I really felt like a lot of the chapters beforehand were things that were structure and story and all that kind of stuff. And when I got and saw this set of questions, I thought, well, this is more about the why. Mm-hmm. So, and that intrigued me.
Okay. All right. I love it. All right, John. Let's get the timer. Last one. And what's the question? One last time.
One last time. Where is the love in this story?
Where's the love in this story? Okay. All right, John, we've reached our time.
All right.
Period, huh? As you say, period. Just going back to where we started at the beginning. The first question I asked you, do you consider yourself a writer? What'd you say?
No, I don't consider myself a writer, but I'm having fun doing it. Just like I don't consider myself a director, but when I'm in the moment of directing, I enjoy doing it.
There you go.
So,
So how was this overall?
A wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Yes, very enlightening and it was great. I don't have enough good things to say about it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Wow. So you say you're not a writer, but I guess with the right questions,
yes.
you could actually power through, and you can actually, at least just get, maybe improve your story, maybe just make it a little bit better, whatever you had in mind.
Yes.
Maybe you're still not a writer today, but at least, you have a story that you've written that you feel connected to that now maybe is a little better than it would have been.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, wow.
And the questions were great. They helped.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And so now we're going to do our big reveal. Like the big number when we started this whole episode was 1434. And just a reminder, when we started, you sent us over 1,434 words.
Right.
That had taken you years to write. It didn't take you a day. It didn't take you weeks. It took you, it was like you had jotted down little ideas, little scenes over the course of years.
Right.
1,434 words. So now what I want you to do is go into the Pages document that you have there.
Okay.
And then you'll see up top there's different tabs up top. So do you see the View tab?
Yes.
Yeah, so click on View. And then in that tab about 7 lines down it says Show View Count. You see that where it says
show word count?
Or I'm sorry, yeah, show word count. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. So you click on that. And then look at the bottom of your Pages document. How many words?
1,420.
Oh, wow. Wow. So in one writing session, you almost did what took you years to do previously. Right. And you were 14 words short. Well, there's no losing here on Film Curves, John. Of course we're going to send you the book for sitting and doing this with us. No matter how many you had done, we were going to do it. But that's amazing. We were literally that close. That's amazing. Awesome. Yeah, congratulations, John. Yeah, we're gonna send you a copy so you'll have the questions. If you ever want to use them, you'll be able to expand this story, write more of it.
Oh, great! Thank you.
I'm also gonna send you the notes that I had done. I'll send those to you with the questions, so I'll send that over to you.
Okay.
And thank you for this experience,
John.
And then
a copy of what?
Exactly. And we'll send you all the exactly. We'll send you all that. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. This has been beautiful. Thank you, John. You did it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You got it.